Hello everyone. In this video, we will see how we can create a promise with cancel method. Normally, if you know, promise has these two methods called then and catch, which gets called as soon as a promise is resolved or rejected. Now, the idea is to have a cancel method so that we can control the execution of the callbacks that are passed to these then and catch blocks, right? So let's try to understand it by writing some examples. So first we'll go ahead and create a promise object. So this is my promise, which takes, let's say, resolve, and then let's pass this resolve. Let's resolve it after 5 seconds with some data. And now if I just do promise.10, that will just print me the data if I run this code. So you can see data, and if I reject this promise, instead of resolving, if I reject, then the control will go to the catch section, and then it will print some errors. So let's say, what does it print? So reject is getting called with this data over here, and that's why data is getting printed. Now the idea is to have a cancel method on top of this promise object, and if I call this cancel method before the promise is resolved or rejected, then my callback shouldn't get executed. So this is one of the way how we implement a cancelable promise. So we'll try to see that how we can do that. So what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and create a wrapper function, something like cancelable promise, which will take a promise as an input. Now the idea is to attach a additional cancel method. Right. Now what we should do is we should first return a promise from here. So we'll do a return new promise, which will have this resolve and reject method. Now why we are returning promise? Because we want to preserve the behavior of the promise where we can perform our chaining on the promises, and that's why we want to return a promise. Now if you want, if you see, we also want a cancel method to be attached on this. So what we'll do is we'll store this promise in a object. Let's name it promise.object. Promise object. And then what we'll do is we'll return this promise object. So now what we'll do it, we'll attach an cancel method on this. So this should be a function. Okay, now let's maintain a flag which should tell us if this promise has been cancelled or not. So we'll mark it as false initially, and once this cancel method has been called, we'll mark it as true. Okay, now here, right, we have this promise. Now when this promise is either resolved or rejected, now we want to check, let's say first resolve with data. Now we want to check if my promise is already cancelled or not, and we want to call this resolve method only when the promise is not cancelled. So if this is not cancelled, then what we do, we resolve this with data. And similarly, if it was rejected and if it is not cancelled, then we go ahead and reject it with the error. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll create our new promise object, something like const new promise, and this should be the promise object returned from our wrapper function that we have implemented. Now this new promise will have this. So now if I go and run this code, since I'm immediately calling this onCancel method, my console log statement shouldn't run. So this promise is actually resolving after 500 milliseconds, but since I'm calling this function immediately, I should not see any data on my screen. So as you see, I cannot see any statement over here. Now I'll go ahead and comment out this call over here. And now I'll go ahead and run this. Now you can see I'm getting, printed this data. Now let's try to do something else. We'll try to call this function in a set timeout method after 1000 milliseconds, and we'll call this cancel method inside that set timeout. In this case also, we should see our data being printed because we are calling the onCancel method after the promise has been resolved. So since we are rejecting here, like from both the places, we are calling console log only, but we should see the data. So you are seeing we are still seeing the data, but let's reduce this to 200 milliseconds. That is, we are calling this cancel before the promise is rejected. And in this case, we shouldn't see the data over here. And that's how it is working. So this is one of the way how we implement a promise with a cancel method on it. Do let me know in the comment section if you want me to make some more videos on promise or any other JavaScript problem that you want me to make a video on. Thank you.